We are back here at Spike Week, a little mini hiatus, but I promise you for the live viewers, if you're coming over from watching the masterclass in the Olympics from Simone Biles, that was just an appetizer for what Erik Beimfohr and Davis Mattek are going to bring you some heat, getting you ready for the preseason kicking off tonight, and players to watch for positive news, negative news, and everywhere in between. Plus, we're going to put all this to use in a draft on Drafters Fantasy. Let's do it. All right, Davis. I'm not the most patriotic person in the world, but I got to say the Olympics going on right now. We talked earlier today on your channel. I'm getting jazzed up for football. I went to the gym in between our two shows. I was feeling a little lethargic, and then I watched some gymnasts do some things that don't really make any sense to me. How humans can do it, and it's got me all jacked up. I'm excited to talk a little preseason and see if we can win BBM earlier today, and we can win the Drafters Championship this afternoon.
Look, I would absolutely love that. Because I'm trying to hit the gladiator status this year, so I'm not going to be. I don't think I'm going to be able to max on. I mean, maybe I will. Maybe in the end, I'll just it'll be there'll be 7 days left to the season, and I'll be in a comfortable spot, and I'll just spend my time grinding. Bullock is wondering what I had for lunch. I had a protein bar, and I had 3 90-calorie nitrate and sugar-free beef jerky sticks is what I had for lunch. That is what I had for lunch.
You sound like me right now. I fully admit that I am getting older, and the body doesn't respond as well to even a week of being bad is it's wild what the scale turns into and all that kind of stuff.
Unbelievable.
We are going to Napa next weekend. It's the FanDuel Baseball Live Final, and it's in Napa. Something about being in this beautiful place amongst all these rich people drinking wine motivated me to get my shit together for a couple of weeks. So I've been doing the exact same thing: protein shakes and yogurt and all sorts and straight meat. Just trying to get in a little bit better shape. But yes, I do have a different color shirt on. I have showered twice already today.
Same
shirt. I love it. But before we do get into the draft, right? The whole point of what we're going to do here is we're going to hang out. We're going to pop in a draft. You guys can join with us. We're going to draft in the Drafters $15 Best Ball Championship. They just literally dropped a new promo for that for this month, for August. If you draft 30 every day, if you draft 30 consecutive days, you'll get 3 free tickets and so basically it actually accumulates. You'll get a bunch of free tickets and some free pick'em slips if you draft every single day, but you only have to draft 10 days in a row into the Best Ball Championship, and you'll get also a free ticket, both pick'em and into the tournament. They got tons of promos, man. It's a great site for if you want to rack up some free tickets. You're not going to pay the full entry fee if you're playing on Drafters. So we're going to draft over there. But first, it is kind of preseason's kicking off. We got the Hall of Fame game tonight, which is really not very notable, except for, do you remember who it was? Was it last year or 2 years ago? There was somebody
Cedric Tillman.
So Cedric Tillman and Zamir, right? Didn't Zamir?
This was 2 years ago. It was the first year that McDaniels was the coach, and he basically was like, I want to win this game. He was like being a hardo, like, I really want to win. And he played his starters, including Jacobs. I don't remember if it was I think Jacobs got 12 carries in the Hall of Fame game or something. And so the libs were like, we can't take him. He played too much in the Hall of Fame game. And I mean, look, I think the only things that you're going to be able to take away from tonight is if Jawar Jordan is playing in the third quarter, I don't think that means he's safe as the third running back. Mm-hmm. That's it, really, because the Bears, everything's so new with the Bears, and they're not playing anybody relevant. I think there's no, I mean, maybe if you're in like a 30-team dynasty league, if Tyson Bagent gets a half, that means there's a quarterback competition between Rippon and Bagent to be the second quarterback. But that's about all I've got for you on that side.
Yeah, nothing really on the Bears. I assume Roshan's not playing, right? I assume all of the top 3 backs. I know
All are
Swift.
not playing, and
Okay.
Homer I think is even not playing.
Jesus Christ! We're still doing Travis Homer stuff, but it really is tonight is the Jawar Jordan Bowl. I think.
Yeah.
You could maybe I'll look and see what the Texans wide receiver stuff is doing, because beyond Noah Brown, there's Mechie and some of that, but that's like really not that. Those are more of like if they get cut, they could land on the Cowboys or something like that, as opposed to they're draftable right now. But beyond tonight is just kind of a fun little appetizer. There is a lot of stuff that happens over the course of the preseason that is notable. And yes. I just want to chop it up for a few minutes on, is there anybody that you're like specifically going to be, I'm watching that preseason game. Obviously for me, it was like my guys, but like, I wanted to know a couple of years ago when I was hammering Darrington Evans in every draft, like, is he really the back? Like, is he really the backup when they tell me the 2s are playing? Is it him out there? Is there anybody like that you're like, I want to see their role. I want to see, are they playing deep into the second half or a team situation, right? A backup running back, just anything specifically notable.
I think the Chargers would be the number one. So there's a couple situations going on there. What's happening with Spiller, Patterson, and Vidal? Like, there's definitely a non-zero chance that a guy who was a 13th round pick for the entirety of fantasy football, like literally doesn't make the team, like maybe not even the practice squad. Like, if it's preseason week 2 and Vidal and Jarrett Patterson are running halfback dives in the 4th quarter, we're talking about like literally one of the worst picks of all time in the history of fantasy football, because it's not even like drafters have been reacting to coach speak on that. Like, it's not like the coaches are telling us that Vidal is good. It's just that we kind of liked him as a prospect and he landed on a thin depth chart. And then Brendan Rice, what is happening with Brendan Rice versus Shark versus QJ? Like, I think it's a signal if QJ is if Shark is active for the preseason at all, because I assume Harbaugh is going to be a bit of a hardo. Like, I think he'll probably have Herbert play a little bit in the preseason and Edwards and Dobbins play a little, even though like no other coach would do that. But if Shark is like catching passes from Max Duggan, that makes me more interested in Rice. I did get caught up on my slow drafts. I made about 47 picks while I was gnawing on my protein bar.
The Chargers, I think, have to be like the answer to just about any like depth chart related question, because it does appear, not that this matters for best ball, but that Will Dissly has jumped ahead of what's his face. Oh my gosh, how am I blanking on the other dusty old veteran tight end that we've drafted a handful of times? Hayden Hurst. Not that that's notable, but like, we just like, other than Ladd and even Ladd, I want to see when they do put the starters out there and they go into 2 wide sets, is he out there? I don't think that means he can't, I don't want to draw lines in the sand and say, look, they played 4 snaps in the preseason and Ladd only played in 3 wide sets, and say it's never going to happen. But it is kind of important when the guy's going in the 60s.
It's happened with Christian Kirk before, where we learned that he wasn't playing in 2 wide receiver sets in the preseason, and then it translated to the regular season as well.
And so, everything is with a grain of salt. Everything is small sample, blah, blah, blah. But I would say the Chargers are kind of clearly the most notable one, because like I said, other than Justin Herbert and like a little bit of Ladd, we have no idea what is going to happen with this offense. I don't even know what like schematically they plan to do. Greg Roman had a quote the other day that was, some games we're going to run the shit out of it and some games we're going to throw the shit out of it. And I was like, the I don't believe you, the Will Ferrell, I don't believe you meme, but like, they're just so interesting that there's Jarrett Patterson hype in like training camp, which got me really queasy about Vidal. So that's probably the top of the list. I would say I want to see if, I'm pretty sure this is real now. We've got like a week in a row of it happening, but I do want to see the Deneric Prince thing, because is he the 2, or is it like an experimental, we would like to see what we have in this guy? Is he playing?
Remember, he played with Mahomes last preseason too.
I know.
So Reed loves to fuck around. Reed loves to fuck around. I mean, remember the first the first year Mahomes started, he just let the offense play for a half. Tyreek had like a 60-yard touchdown in Mahomes' first preseason game, which is just like, but Andy Reid just loves to fuck around. So I don't know. I wonder if they do Kadarius Toney out of the backfield in a preseason game. The other team, this is really only best ball nerds, but the Patriots, like, what is do the Patriots give Drake May any snaps? They should. I think they probably will.
And Javon Baker, I would add to that, like Baker versus Osborne versus the other, the vets that are there. Pop Douglas, like I assume Pop is the starting slot receiver, but what is the 2-wide set? Similar to the Chargers thing, what is the 2-wide set? Because he's not playing outside in 2-wide sets. We're pretty darn confident Polk. I think every single rep of the starters Polk has played in camp, even something today that they came out in heavy formation with 3 tight ends, and Polk was the only wide receiver on the field. So I feel pretty confident he's going to be out there. But is it Baker versus Osborne versus whatever? I think is pretty important because Javon Baker is a prospect I really like, and we like this Patriots cheap, the cheapness of the offense. And if he's like wheels up right away, it alleviates some of the concern. And even if you are going to draft him regardless, it's like you get a little more flexibility in how you draft these guys. If they're like day one starters, if you're a day one starter in 2-wide sets, you could be treated a little differently in best ball drafts, as opposed to like, oh, I still really like him. Maybe he'll play 25% of snaps, but he's kind of a Jalen Hyatt type guy last year. Like that's very different from starting every day, week 1.
I definitely agree. I mean, I am just concerned though, where I'm at with the Patriots is I have been a bull the whole time. I've been a May guy. I have a ton of May in the big board. Was drafting a ton of May early, total optimism. Like I'm a Drake May believer, but the vibes, man, the vibes are very bad. The vibes, I don't know if the vibes could possibly be any worse in New England. Like there's this article on The Athletic. It's like it's called a running diary of Drake May's day at training camp. And it's like Drake May practice handoffs. Drake May can't complete a pass. Drake May gets yelled at by Jacoby Brissett. Drake May like looks for a receiver to practice with him after practice and finally like drags Javon Baker and Jalen Polk to do it, but everyone else is gone. Like it's not good.
Gerard Mayo sends him to the corner, just to sends him to the corner and don't even like turn around, go stand in the corner because we're sick of watching you throw incomplete passes. That was I'm excited about Drake May long term, but I will say I've always sort of felt it's a little more dynasty-ish of a take. Like I would love to be in on Drake May in dynasty, and I have some small concerns about this season. We can do the same conversation that everybody does. Like if the Patriots lose, if they're 1-7, yeah, I agree. Like he's probably going to be out there playing. My pushback always on that is if you got that crystal ball and what the record is going to be for all of these teams, you don't need to play best ball, buddy. You got it figured out. Like this is easy. You just bet on all these games. You bet against these teams, but it just doesn't go that way. Like the Lions beat the Chiefs on opening night last year. The Jets, Aaron Rodgers blew out his Achilles on the first drive of the season, and Zach Wilson beat the Bills in week 1 last year. Like crazy shit happens. Even if you're right that the Patriots stink, it still could be week, who knows what week before Drake May gets in there. Drake May could get in there and he stinks, and they go back and they end up going back to Jacoby Brissett because like these coaches don't want to just like.
That's what I think is going to happen with Fields. I think Fields is actually going to end up starting and then play himself out of a job, and then Russ will start and play himself out of a job, and they're going to go back to Fields. I literally think that is now the most likely scenario.
I can't even argue with that. It's the funniest situation I can remember where I've been drafting Justin Fields, and now that he is getting more and more of a higher probability of starting week 1, I get more and more queasy about is he actually going to win me all the money in best ball, which is so counterintuitive. But it does feel that way. Just a couple more. I want to the chat brought up huge preseason for Jordan Mason, and I find that one to be interesting.
I don't buy it. I think this is classic. No, this is Tyrion Davis Price. This is the year before. Who was behind Trey Sermon?
Mitchell.
It was Eli Mitchell, right? It was. I guess that was a time.
Isn't that the reason? Isn't
okay,
that the reason
all right,
to think?
fair. Yeah.
Mason is the new Eli Mitchell
Mason
behind Eli Mitchell.
except he's been around forever. This is year three. You might remember. I mean, this is the third year Jordan Mason has been on the 49ers roster. They keep taking running backs. If they really liked Jordan Mason that much, Isaac Urendo, although I think they took Urendo for like new kickoff rule, but they also signed Cody Schrader, who's the SEC's leading rusher last year. Like I don't. That one, I'm not clicking. And Schrader is like, I think it's probably not going to happen for him, and I think he's going to end up playing for the Battlehawks. But I really hope it does. I really hope it does happen for him because he is. I think he's a good rusher.
I'm convinced he's a good runner, but that doesn't always lead to having an NFL job. And he landed in a gross. Really, if he landed on the Chargers, I would be drafting Cody Schrader for sure. But I am interested in watching that backfield play out. We know Christian McCaffrey's not going to play. Is Eli Mitchell playing? Is Jordan Mason playing, with the starters or with anything like that? Is Cody Schrader actually getting any form of run, or is he the guy that's running out the clock in the fourth quarter? Just little, because the thing about the 49ers and why I do care about it so much during the preseason is the value of hitting on a San Francisco 49er is as good as
massive.
It can be. Yeah. And if something happens to Christian McCaffrey, there is a league winner here, and it's like guaranteed. And there's not that many situations that are like that. And so I don't have any strong conviction that it's not Eli Mitchell yet. I don't really like Jordan Mason. The dude was a fullback for part of his career at Georgia Tech in the triple option offense. It feels weird that he could be a starting NFL running back, but who knows? I do want to watch it. Somebody asked in the chat, will you give us a countdown? Here's your 2-minute warning. We'll hop in the draft here in just a second, but anybody else to pop around? Obviously we'll talk it through during the draft and stuff too, but any other situations top of mind?
Arizona does Zay Jones play with fucking Desmond Ridder or whatever in the preseason? Which I actually think he probably will. I think that is where Zay Jones is at in his career. Packers. What does Marshawn Lloyd do? Does Marshawn Lloyd get some snaps with Jordan Love? That would be Broncos. Broncos is a good one. Like, are they telling the truth about Troy Franklin being the wide receiver 6 or whatever?
Yeah.
Does Estime play with the first team? Is Estime in there in the third quarter? Which is not to say that it means that Estime's like dead in the vine or whatever. I just think there's probably some information to be gleaned. And how about this one? Who's the third running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Because I would love to bet against Tank Bigsby. Does Keelan Robinson play running back in the preseason, or is it just all kick returning stuff? Because Keelan Robinson is like, to me, he could be our generation's Raheem Mostert, where he barely played running back in college, but was he was Raheem Mostert, but he was at Texas and Bama, so it's hard to find more of a pedigree than that. I would love to see Keelan Robinson get like 23 carries for 110 yards in the preseason.
I mean, he's got juice. He's a good athlete. He just never carved out a role ever in college. It's easy to explain away, but it's also like, he had some of the most legendary running back rooms like of all time in front of him at Bama and at Texas. So it's easy to explain away. Like, sure, he was behind Bijan and these Bama guys, but also like, that's kind of the point is like, you still have to be like good enough to get on the field in college most of the time, but the Mosterts happen. That's a good one. I actually didn't think about the Jags because no one is excited to click Tank, but we don't know what else to do.
I won't do it. I think Tank is like a worse example of the Clyde Edwards-Helaire thing, where it's like Tank was like actively the worst running back in the NFL.
Yeah.
He was like Kadarius Toney, but at running back, and maybe he gets it figured out, but I think he probably won't. And it's the same coaching staff. Like, why couldn't it be Dearness Johnson? Why can't it be Keelan Robinson? I think it definitely can be.
I think so too. I got no pushback on that. And Daniel says Dearness was pretty solid as the backup. I mean, Dearness has always been solid.
He's always solid.
He's just replaceable, right? He's A worse version of Donta Foreman, RIP Donta. I mean, not actual RIP, but like RIP to what it seems to be his fantasy viability this year. Although it does seem they said he's in the hospital and like okay, and all of his limbs and stuff are moving, but that's generally not a great lead up to the season. But that's what D'Ernest always has kind of felt like to me, is like this, just like you can plop him in and like he's probably going to get what's blocked for you and probably going to be a totally fine runner and not hurt your offense. He's just not elevating it either, and he's not like a special player. So they're always like, when you have him, you always look for Tank Bigsby, or you look for Keelan Robinson, or you look for the next guy because he's just a dude. But to that point, if Tank still sucks and it's not Keelan Robinson because he's 190 pounds, D'Ernest feels like actually a pretty good pick, and he's not getting drafted in any of these drafts. So like maybe he's one of these big preseason winners.
It could be. I think there will be a minimum of one backfield that we gain some information on that we have like none of right now. Like, I mean, this is pretty rare for me to not know who a player is. But I was reading an Athletic beat report the other day, and my brain is so fried right now, I can't even remember what team or what backfield it was. But it was literally like some guy I like was behind some guy I've never heard of, and I was like, "Well, fuck," like it's like if I've never heard of a guy, that means he wasn't a combine invite, and to not be a combine invite is like. Everybody gets invited to the combine. It's pretty hard not to get invited to the combine. So, in the Colts backfield, Trey Sermon, Evan Hull, that would be,
Goodson. Yep.
Goodson. Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely, a relatively interesting one.
Yeah. We mentioned Jawar. I think that's really mostly it. The only other one I was going to bring up is with, especially now this latest Foreman news. What's Nick, we're not going to get Nick Chubb playing in the preseason, but like any possible like signs of what's his rehab looking like? And then are we just giving it all to Jerome Ford? Are they bringing somebody else in? Like what the heck is going on with Cleveland? Because I'm not as excited maybe as some others are about that offense, because there's no Joe Flacco there to save the day when Deshaun fails, for the 5th year in a row. But there's talent, and they score running back. I mean, they scored running back points with DTR at quarterback. So like they're going to score running back points, and they're all free in drafts. So now, especially with the Foreman thing, muddied it up. Not the Foreman injury, Foreman being on the team before kind of muddied it up. Like, is he the guy to bide time until Chubb gets back? Well, that guy's not here anymore. He's in the hospital right now. He had a very serious injury. So like, is it just wheels up Ford? Because I didn't really like Ford at his price before. And
no, I don't like Ford, but I like Strong. So yeah, dude. Okay, let this happen, please. Just keep Samaje Perine away from the Cincinnati Bengals anywhere, but the Bengals. Yeah, keep me there. Rasheen Ali, that's a good one.
That's my guy. That's my guy.
Big. But I bet you and I are 1 and 2 in Rasheen Ali exposure in Best Ball Mania 5.
Probably. The people in this chat and the two people talking, 100%.
Yeah.
But like him as a player, he's like Vidal to me, but just with Derrick Henry in front of him instead of Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. It's Justice Hill. I know Keaton, but like I'm not worried about Keaton Mitchell until they basically said that he ain't ready. He's not going to be ready for the season. We don't know when he's going to be back. All right, so now you got an old Derrick Henry in front of you, and like we've both also been drafting Justice Hill for many a season. If Justice Hill's the roadblock, like I'm cool. Like I'm cool making that bet. You know what I mean?
100%.
So let's go ahead and hop into this draft, and I'm sure there'll be many more names to come up. If you guys have a name or a thought in the chat, drop it. We'll discuss these guys. I love talking through all the. Hopefully, okay.
There's nothing that gets me more jazzed up than doing, who's going to be the 7th practice squad wide receiver for the league's 23rd best offense. There's not really anything that's going to get me more jazzed up than that.
Like, no offense I don't mean this to my good friends in the Spike Week Discord. There was a long conversation yesterday about like Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Drake London. They go right next to each other, and kind of like, it's uncomfortable price once you kind of get beyond like AJ Brown, Puka, whatever. We're not used to drafting those kind of the Drake Londons of the world at the 1-2 turn. We're definitely not used to drafting rookie wide receivers at the 1-2 turn. So it's kind of like a conversation. And I was just like, that's just like so not a fun conversation for me. Like the price is the price. If you like, what are you going to do? Draft a bunch of Chris Olave? Like he doesn't have any flaws. Like they all have the flaws once we get to that Drake London range. So I just don't even really find it that fun of a conversation, but I will just totally degen out on, Keelan Robinson, Cody Schrader, right?
Yep.
Here's a name that's I've drafted a little more on drafters or 20 rounds because it gets pretty goddamn gross in the 19th and 20th rounds. But a guy who, to this exact point, I've been kind of into as like the total last guy on the roster for multiple years. Never really has come through, but he has hit in like the old like week 18 or whatever occasionally. And now he is operating as the wide receiver 3 for the Minnesota Vikings and getting a good amount of hype like just about every single day. Addison's probably suspended. Hawkinson's out for the first part of the season. Jalen Naylor is attached to this Vikings offense.
I liked him. I liked him in college.
I think he was a good prospect. I think he's shown a little bit when he's gotten to play in the NFL. And now, what are we talking about here, dude? Brandon Powell is the blocker. I know Justin Jefferson, but like he's not going to get every single passing target. And we at least got probably a few games of runway to prove himself before Addison and Hawkinson come back. He's a guy that I want to watch too over the course of the preseason.
Couldn't agree more. I think he could be a pretty good round 20 click. Although this doesn't matter on drafters, but I am starting to think that Addison probably ends up. Feels like he's going to get suspended earlier in the season rather than later in the season. I think Bobby is not reading the tea leaves correctly. Donovan Peoples-Jones is not the wide receiver 2.
He might get cut.
Detroit.
He might get
Antoine. It's Antoine Green is the name.
They hyped up somebody else today. I'll have to try and go look it up. 32 beat writers tweet so many times it's hard to catch back up when you missed it. But they were talking about somebody else as well, which had me like, oh, DPJ might just straight up get
Darius Fountain.
Yes, Fountain. It's Fountain.
Used to be
the former chief.
Used to be a chief. Yeah.
Former chief. Yep.
Where we're picking at 10.
We are picking at 10.
All right.
What have you been doing with like this spot is always the spot where everybody kind of takes it their own.
I just take Puka. I think actually in a cumulative scoring format, I like taking one of the anchor running backs a little bit more. Like if Bijan was ever there, but I bet it never happens in the cumulative scoring. I haven't done a fast drafters in weeks. I was doing some slows, but I haven't done a fast drafter in weeks.
As you can see, I have a whole mess of slows.
Slow draft, man.
Here. Nico, Devontae.
I'm a Nico slappy.
Me sure. Too. I love Nico. that one's pretty easy. I do like to, people will ask at that from after Chase and such, you get into the AJ Brown, Puka, Garrett Wilson. I know I'm going to draft all those guys, like I was just talking about with the Wilson or the Harrison London debate. And so I kind of try to pair them all like as much as I can. Like I'm going to have 15%, 16% Nico Collins. I don't want it all to be with Puka. I want to get an AJ Brown team with him and a Garrett Wilson team with him. So I like all those guys. I don't really see. I do think there's like Devontae. I know you and I talked this morning about Devontae Adams and how we're a little higher on him. We could say before or after Devontae, it's like almost a little mini tier break there where like I could see like mega elite seasons from Devontae Adams, Nico Collins, Marv London, etc.
Absolutely.
I like the Niners guys. I like Chris Olave fine, but like it does feel like a small mini tier break amongst those guys.
I agree. I think the tiers are Lamb, Reek, and Jefferson are in a tier of their own. Then Chase and St. Brown are in a tier of their own. Then Brown is in a tier of his own. Then Puka, Wilson, London. Then Nico, Marv, Debo, Adams. Then a giant tier break to the next group of guys. I think after Adams, Neighbors, Olave, Cup, like Waddle, Ayuk, Evans, all these guys. I think they are like markedly different. Oh no.
Well,
Oh no.
Wow. Okay. Did not expect quarterback injuries don't happen very often in training camp. Will miss already confirmed he's going to miss. This must be Schefter. I knew Schefter was a spike week and Davis Mattek fan.
You know what?
Wow.
This is gonna lead to me having like way more of him. If you can get Justin Herbert in the 14th round, Herbert round 14, you backdoor it with Vidal or Dobbins. Pretty good.
Here is this is from Rap Sheet, so take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, but I assume it'll be confirmed by somebody else. The Chargers announced Justin Herbert was diagnosed with an injury to the plantar fascia in his right foot. He'll be in a boot for 2 weeks and then gradually work his way back. The team says it is with the expectation that he will be ready for the start of the season. So, not really what you want to hear. Plantar
fascia is not great. Plantar fascia lingers.
Yes, and is really easy to re-aggravate. Happens all the time, and it does worry me a little. Like, the reason why, see if I can flesh this out on the spot. The reason why we were so excited about all these Chargers guys is because they're tied to Justin Herbert.
Because they're tied to Justin Herbert.
Most of them suck. Let's see here.
This is Kelsey all day for me.
Kelsey, all right, that works.
Yeah.
But if Justin Herbert is out to start the season, they could lose games. He could get re-aggravated. They could shut him down later in the season. The division is not exactly a cakewalk, and the conference is really not a cakewalk. I'm not trying to like panic react to, an early August injury, but it does concern me because, like I said, the whole Chargers ecosystem and the reason we draft them in best ball is specifically for this dude. If he is hurt and or potentially, limited at all and could get re-injured more easily, it's a little bit worrisome.
All right, quick Google. 2 quarterbacks. I need to move. I'm cool with any of these wide receivers. I think after Pacheco goes, there's a break. No, I mean I like Pickens for because the spike weeks. You don't take his 60 points away on drafters. I think I'd probably say Pickens.
I like that.
Drew Brees and Peyton Manning both played through plantar fascia injuries in the mid 2000s. Okay. I mean, obviously, different style of play, but it's not a good injury. It's really not a good injury.
No, it really is not. I was just hoping for like a sprained ankle or something like that. Like even a high ankle sprain or something. You just ice it for a month and it'll be all right. But yeah, wow. Did not expect it. I will say this much, A-Rod. Brutal. This is not good for Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards is a early down in between the tackles grinder who needs to score touchdowns to pay off for fantasy. His stock on maybe 2-yard carries now goes up for sure, but like you need the offense scoring touchdowns for Gus Edwards to do anything, or J.K. Dobbins or Kamani Vidal. You're drafting them because they're the starting running back or potentially on the Justin Herbert offense. I don't even know who the Chargers backup is. Chargers.
Easton Stick.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Easton Stick or Max Duggan.
We saw, well, Duggan can Duggan and QJ bring back the TCU.
It's bad for every Charger. I mean, straight up, it is really bad for every Charger.
That's good. Yeah, get ready for Max Duggan and QJ in week 14 or whatever for the Chargers. Oh, God.
I will say, though, that if ADP pushes him to the Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers range, like the range where sometimes you see them in the 16th round and you're not even surprised to see them fall that far, I don't know how you avoid taking him. How do I like where Stafford goes, where Baker Mayfield goes? Like Herbert, you could take him. Yeah, Easton Stick is a sneaky rusher, but he's also a terrible passer. He's just like not a very good quarterback.
The rushing sneaks up on you because he can't throw the goddamn football.
He can't do anything. Yeah,
so you're shocked that this guy can move at all because he's so bad at everything else.
Correct.
Yeah. So where would you put him?
I'm not going to move him right now. Okay. I'm going to leave him. I'm going to leave him where he's at because right. He's quarterback 17. So after him, you get into Cousins, Stafford, Rodgers, Watson, who like also all have injury concerns, right?
Yeah.
Stafford, we thought Stafford was going to maybe retire. Kirk Cousins is coming off of a snapped Achilles. Aaron Rodgers is coming off a snapped Achilles. Deshaun Watson has the shoulder injury. Like it's not meaningfully different, I don't think.
Yeah. I think that's right. I think that's totally fair. I think I could make a case for Cousins strictly for he's been just as good as Herbert fantasy wise the last since Herbert's rookie season, and the situation is better, and now I have injury situations for both of them, and so if I'm going to take on both of that, I think I could make a case for Cousins. But they go within in the same round, and it's quarterback ADP. There's a wide range of outcomes on when quarterbacks go. Definitely, yeah. Wow, something I did not expect, and I certainly did not foresee a quarterback overall injury. That's pretty wild.
I think Richardson here because we missed all the Chiefs wide receivers. Yeah, yes. I think Richardson. Oh, we could take Hollywood. It's either's fine.
Let's do Richardson.
I don't really care.
I think I mentioned it earlier today with you that okay, so let's make our pick and then sell me the Hollywood shares. I'm struggling to see, other than Mahomes goes Burr. I'm struggling.
I got a little bit of logic for you. I mean, it's mostly Mahomes go Burr, but there's a little bit of extra logic, which I think I can sell you with.
That's fair. How old is Hollywood now? Like 26, 27?
I believe he's 27.
20 just turned 27. All right. Yeah. Jaden Reed, James Cook, Rashad White, Christian Watson.
Cook or Watson for me, I think.
Not a Jaden Reed guy?
I mean, I feel like Watson's spikes are bigger, but I'm on board with the Packers. Like either one of them, kind of view them like
I have more. I have/had a lot more. Jesus, that dude snap called Jaden Reed after us. But I have a lot more Jaden Reed like with Puka Nico. He goes like you can kind of. I think didn't you do this bit the other day on ship chasing or something that like. Once you've taken Puka 10th overall, like you can start to see it all align, and it shows up in the exposures. It's like, look, Rashad White, I never take him, and he doesn't align, whatever. Yeah. So like 0% exposure with all of these different guys, and then you see like, oh look, this guy probably aligns, and this guy probably doesn't.
That's exactly how it goes.
It goes in. It's a Christmas tree.
Yes. So the Hollywood Brown thing is that he was injured last year and really just dogging it. I mean, I think that's the thing is he was injured and he was playing with Josh Dobbs, Clayton Tune, and then by the time Kyler was back, his foot was all fucked up. I mean, that really is about it. And you could say there's no excuse for dogging it. You could say it's a bad excuse. You could say if the foot injury was really that bad, he wouldn't have been playing. I think one of the things we do wrong in fantasy is that we treat a guy playing injured the same as a sample of playing healthy. Now, obviously, like you'd rather your guy play banged up and give you non-zeros, but it messes up the sample later on because we look at Hollywood last year and we're like, oh, he cratered in yards per route run and all this stuff. And then, like, I think we're going to see this with Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp is going to come back and play really well this year. And we were going to be like, oh, yeah, he was down in targets per route run and yards per route run because he was playing with this messed up hamstring.
Yeah. How do you think about – so my struggle with that, and I agree, humans are naturally not going to be able to apply everything apples to apples for every single player. And I'm definitely doing it with Cooper Kupp and maybe not being fair to Hollywood or some other players. But how do you think about that? It's like Eckler was probably hurt last year. And, you know, some of these, like there's a lot of guys that probably deal with that. And it's so that's my struggle with it is how the fuck do I know when to like really dig into that thing? And like I said, I mean, I'm doing it with Cooper Kupp, so I'm totally being a hypocrite. But like, I that's my difficulty is I think it's a real thing. I just don't know when to like really dig my heels in on it and when to like put my hands up in the air.
Well, Hollywood was a worse talent than Cooper. Like Hollywood's like, he's probably a little bit overdrafted in the real NFL draft. His first career game was his best ever game, which is sort of interesting. Kind of a Stephen Hill in the, you know, anyone
Lamar,
remember Stephen Hill, 2 touchdowns in his first ever NFL game, then out of the NFL. But he also has the potential to have this really nice role in the Chiefs offense, depending on Xavier Worthy's development, where Rashi is kind of the underneath guy, the gadget plays, some of the backfield snaps and stuff. Kelsey is who he is. And then we have Hollywood sort of being like a hybrid between the old sacrificial DeMarcus Robinson role and the Sammy Watkins role. That would have been really good if Watkins was any good. Like if Watkins there, and Watkins had stretches where he was usable. So it'll really just depend on how healthy he is and how much gas he has left.
I do think it's easier to take that plunge when they are tied to Patrick Mahomes, right? And so it's like I'm willing to take that risk a little bit more often. D-Mont, I really am not. Are you David Montgomery guy? Not as
like
near.
He's like very fine in this exact build, but I feel the same way that you do. Every time I click it, I'm like,
like really? I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win this whole tournament with David Montgomery. I say that I wouldn't mind picking him just because, like I said, I got like absolutely none of him with any of these, and it's a little bit after. It changes up it gives us a different color on our Christmas tree because he's doesn't align here. Whereas I take, you know, like look at Aaron Jones, right? You see it perfect. Aaron Jones aligns. I like Aaron Jones, so that also is going to make his exposures a lot higher. But you see tons of, I use green for like when it's a really high exposure player with somebody else on this team. It's like, yeah, you got 30% of Aaron Jones with a bunch of these guys because guess what? Their ADPs are right in, you know, they all go right next to each other.
It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy how much that stuff, like it really is crazy how much where you pick in the first round illustrates what you do for your next 10 picks. But picking Montgomery, like literally you're just like, well, I hope this isn't the season you needed to have Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I say all this and I am down to take Aaron Jones. We can do Swift. I don't do a lot of Swift right here, apparently.
I don't do hardly any Swift here. I mean, Mostert is like the best drafters pick, I think, because
let's do that.
I think when you don't take A-Chain and you're on the other side of the board, it's like, all right, we got Mostert's 9 touchdowns in 6 games, and then he died suddenly. I love it. I kind of like the older guys in the cumulative scoring format because if they're dead, like the whole analysis of like needing 18 guys or needing 20 guys does not apply. Like the guy who won drafters 2 years ago, he was down to 0 quarterbacks by the end. None.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts missed because Jalen Hurts missed the last game or 2 games, and he had Zach Wilson as his
Zach
QB2,
Wilson.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which tells you how incredible Jalen Hurts was, and tells you like you said, everything you need to know about this format. I'm trying to remember. There's been multiple just like laughable. Like we look back and you're like, why is Alexander Madison showing up on so many of these winning cumulative scoring teams? He really did nothing. It was just he probably popped up for the 13-point game at the right time and like filled your lineup one time and was totally useless the rest of the season. Are you doing any Mostert with Jalen Wright? Like, you know, a bet against Achane or a bet on your kind of crazy outcome that you just mentioned. Like Mostert is awesome to start the year and then goes down or something and Jalen Wright takes over. Are you doing any of those two together on the same team?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because those are such good specific bets against the other guy. And it's like, we know the Dolphins probably will be the number one backfield in terms of expected points in 2024. Like they probably will acquire the most. They'll have enough room for two. Now, adding Beckham and Jonnu and Blake Washington and there's another guy who can play a little bit too, who I'm forgetting, but just replacing like the Durham Smythes of the world and all that stuff. I mean, maybe you could argue it gets a little bit more spread out, but yeah, we will I don't know, we'll see. I think that's probably the number one backfield to do the handcuff with. I think probably would be the Dolphins.
I think so, and also because Achane is such a unique player too.
Yes,
where it's like you're going to get, like, I would bet a lot of money, at least if Tua is healthy, that the expected points out of this backfield is maybe like laps the field. They just get used in such a unique way to everybody else. They throw it to them, they run it. Tua doesn't run at the goal line. They don't even really like to throw at the goal line, and sometimes when they do throw, they'll throw to the backs. So like it kind of everything flows through those guys expected points wise, other than what Tyreek and Waddle do. And then you combine Achane being this like super weird player where people are willingly drafting him knowing he's going to have like a couple of huge games and a bunch of bad games, because like that's the whole thesis behind him. And so like, well, if they got two other dudes, like what if that thesis is wrong, or what if Achane gets hurt? Now I'm just getting all those expected points with a 9th round pick and a 14th round pick. Like that sounds incredible. Everybody won last year with Mostert and Achane on the same team. Like all these teams won cumulative with both of them last year. I don't see why we couldn't do the same thing again this year, but just a bet, right? A bet. It was a bet against Jeff Wilson. Now it's a bet against Achane.
All right.
God, are we gonna take a bunch of these? How do you feel about Jonathan Brooks and
He's worse. He's way worse in
way worse
scoring. Yeah,
so
you would rather have B-Rob. I like Shaheed. I love Shaheed actually.
Let's do Shaheed on this team and then see what the running back, because I like Spears, I like B-Rob. I like Singletary and Chase Brown, Javonte. There's still another back here that I think we'll like.
There was more likely to be a running back we liked than
the wide receiver
just goes to zero pretty quick.
Yes.
I end up with Shaheed or Lockett in that spot so often, just because I'm like, oh God, what else do you even do?
Right. Yeah, if I didn't draft zero running back so much, I would have a truly exorbitant amount of Rashid Shaheed, I'm pretty sure, just because, I mean, like you said, what else are you going to do? I know the good games are going to come. I know he's good at football. I know he has no target competition. Just like, what else am I going to click here? Brandon Cooks? Like Khalil Shakir?
Oh God, Brandon Cooks. No.
All right.
Downs, I think we should think about, or Chase Brown.
Okay. I do think, I mean, I love Josh Downs, but I think we need to hit one of these running backs here. Is Chase Brown over Tajay and Singletary and Javonte for you?
Oh yeah. He's going up a round again. I'm about to tweet out a highlight of him. He's about to go up another round. Seriously. There's another, he has a sick run with the ones.
Well,
might be Jover for Zach Moss.
It was fun while it lasted, getting Chase Brown in the 130s or whatever of drafts. But it's a good question from Matt. I probably should have prefaced this. By this point, I'm just assuming a lot of people are up to speed on drafters and cumulative scoring formats. But if you're not, Matt asked, can we get a 1-minute elevator pitch on the key strategic differences on drafters? The easiest way to put it is, if you've been playing on Underdog or DraftKings in these playoff format tournaments, meaning when we call it the playoff format versus cumulative, playoff is you compete against the 11 other teams in your league, and you just got to win, right? Get top 2 out of that 12-team league. You make it to week 15, you got to advance once, you got to advance again in week 16, and make it to the final in week 17. The cumulative scoring format, the difference is that every single week matters the exact same. Week 1 counts the same as week 17. The moment the draft is over, you compete against what if they're going to be, a couple 100,000 teams in this tournament. So since every single week matters and you're competing against every single other team in the tournament, we mentioned Jonathan Brooks, like guys like Jonathan Brooks, probably Addison if he's suspended, the injured players, Hawkinson, Chubb, whatever. Like you can survive without them the month or 6 weeks or whatever that you're going to miss on Underdog. That's a third of the season, man. like that's a lot of games missed for these players on drafters. You want to be a lot more intentional about those players, and then just really not even from a player focus, but just understanding that week 1 counts the exact same as week 17 is just a huge, like we took Raheem Mostert. I'm fine with Raheem Mostert on all platforms, but on drafters, to me, he sticks out like a sore thumb. Everybody's expectation is he's still going to be good, but what does he look like late in the season? Who gives a shit on this site? Because if he's having huge games for the first 6 weeks, 10 weeks, that's all you need. And so combining that with, you're going to get layering, the natural kind of layering effect, but just understanding how important the early season is compared to the other sites is really the end all be all to me.
I think that's in terms of like your overall thought process. That's like the biggest thing. It's just to treat week 1 as important as any other week. Like early season points matter just as much. I think that's a great way to explain it. I mean, really the way I've always thought about it is that, yeah, league winners matter in all formats, but league matters matter the most on cumulative scoring.
Yeah, because it's a compounding effect, not a 1 week effect, right? All right, back on the clock. God, this is when it starts to get
really bad.
Disgusting. It's a slight reach, but I'm a big Ty Chandler slappy. Wide receiver, Gabe, AD Mitchell. Should we do AD Mitchell?
Yeah, we should take AD Mitchell, even though we did get a report today that he is currently
behind Alec Pierce.
He's currently backing up a role that earns about 4 targets per game.
Yeah, exactly. That really, and as we just talked about week 1 being super important, the guy's going to be sitting on the sideline for the first month of the season, but it's worth it. I would probably take Ty Chandler here unless you like any of these other guys.
I like Ty Chandler.
As you can see, he's one of my favorite running backs. We're taking a lot of my Chase Brown, Ty Chandler. We'll get to Algier probably in a minute. That's kind of my core of running backs, probably across all sites, honestly, but on drafters as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about that profile. Like the strict handcuff guy is probably a little worse, relatively speaking, but like, you know, his backup, the guy he is backing up has like had the worst hamstring problems of like any running back that I can remember.
Right. And like the handcuffs, it happens so rarely that like a guy goes down at least like fairly early to where we just get this guy who's a stone cold smash all season that was a handcuff. But like there's, you know, if we run the simulation a million times of this upcoming season, there's plenty of those times where Aaron Jones, like you said, seriously pulls the hammy in week 2 and we get the majority of the season of Ty Chandler RB1. And he's, you know, talk about the guy you need. Like you mentioned it, and it was such a good point on drafters. Like if you don't have that guy, like Aaron Jones goes down for 10 weeks in week 2, RIP to the non-Ty Chandler teams, right? On Underdog, it's
over.
Like, it's like, yeah, that's bad that I don't have him. But like, dude, you got to survive. Ty Chandler has to survive all the way still till week 17. But on drafters, like week 17 is just 1 out of 17 weeks I care about. I get to have this superstar RB1, you know, in the 12th round. They're pretty huge differences. And so I do still take a lot of those handcuffy type guys.
Well, they're so likely to be the guys who out earn their draft slot. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just so evident how it happens, right? Like the Vikings' third running back is Kene Nwangu, who's like mostly a kick returner. You know, like they've tried him on offense and it hasn't really worked. Like, you know, it's right there for him, and it doesn't have to happen.
It didn't work at Iowa State either. That's not what he's just a straight line burner.
Yeah. So what do you think with positional allocations? Do you do 2 quarterbacks a lot, 3 quarterbacks? I remember I've probably drafted trying to think. I would do a lot of 3 tight end stuff in these 20 round drafts. Like I just, their ability a round 20 tight end can spike just as hard as a round 14 wide receiver, really.
Yeah. I got no pushback. Let's just do Jalen right away and try our little right Mostert thing. Yeah, I struggle with that one. I still tend to take, like on this team, Anthony Richardson and Travis Kelce. I still tend to take 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends. But again, I draft so much 0 running back that I kind of need the extra bullets in the chamber to make up for the fact that my first running back is always like Demont or Mostert or Najee or Jalen Warren or something like that. So I'm much more open to being flexible on drafters, even I think, than DraftKings. I really want to just stick to my principles on DraftKings and just say, because this team doesn't need to be perfect. And what do I want the team to look like in week 15, 16, and 17 on DraftKings? Whereas on drafters, there's a million different ways that this can go. And like you said, the spike from the tight end can be really valuable on here, but I don't give a shit if I get the spike from the tight end in week 6 on underdog. So
correct.
I'm much more open to 3 tight end than I am 3 quarterback.
Is Stafford gone?
Yes. So we don't have good
okay.
stacks set up. Okay. Let's skip that and double back. Running back is terrible, but Vidal or Ray Davis. We could set up Daniel Jones.
Let's set up Daniel Jones. Yeah.
I was Wandale Day with Davis.
It is
2 shows with Davis turns into Wandale Day. What a goddamn surprise.
Which is great. I have more than the field of Wandale, but I'm not hammering him the way I was in the past, because he is last year he led them in targets per route run, but he's not going to this year. He's playing with Malik Neighbors. So
if Neighbors makes him more efficient, and Daniel Jones is not a complete total loser like he was last year, you can offset that with more efficiency. And I know he's not a big touchdown scorer, but Deontay Johnson had a year he scored 8 touchdowns. Shit happens. These guys can score touchdowns. And not every touchdown comes from inside the 5-yard line. Everybody seems to think you can score from the 15, right? Break a tackle and go score. I just think I understand archetypical arguments against the Wandales of the world, but how I like to play this game is when I know you're good, when you can earn targets like he has earned targets. And he had a really incredible, honestly, college profile from a production perspective. I get the size, man, but I just don't care. I really just don't care. Tank Dell showed us, Josh Downs shows us. I know I'm not trying to compare them to these guys to Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek Hill's little if you can play, you can play, and the team's going to get you the ball, and you're going to get open, and I'll just deal with so you only scored 4 touchdowns. Fine. This is full PPR, and he goes in the 14th round. Show me what 14th round wide receiver is going to score 10 touchdowns, because I'll take him in every single goddamn draft. The point is that he's cheap, not that he, if he was going in the 4th round, we would not be drafting him, but he goes in the 15th, 14th, and 15th. That's the point.
And we know Wandale can play. He hasn't been getting targeted down the field or whatever, but he has earned targets at a high NFL level relative to what you would expect from him.
Probably get a couple carries. He'll get the Curtis Samuel. He's a little cut from the Curtis Samuel cloth. If you Samuel's a little bigger, and Wandale's earned targets a little bit better. But Wandale played running back for a large chunk of his college career.
He got recruited to Nebraska as a running back, dude.
Mm-hmm.
The people they forget. No one wants to give Wandale his flowers, and that's fine. But come on.
Yeah, I like these guys. It really is as simple as just dude, if I know
probably my biggest downfall, honestly, as a fantasy player is I can't a guy whose max ceiling is wide receiver 17 or whatever, but Yeah, dime. I think we got to do dimes.
We're gonna need Jones. I just want to double check if there's anybody else you like. Otten, Jonnu, likely. Corley's
whatever.
Let's just wrap up Daniel Jones.
I really kind of wanted to be in on Corley, but it sounds like Rodgers and Hackett are like, you don't know what's going on here.
He's
like,
a good one to watch for the preseason. He's a good one to watch.
Oh, he is. That is a good, kind of Tank Deli.
There go. Who is this in the 11 drafting? Dan Tino. Oh, had Garrett Wilson and takes the little backdoor Rodgers and Corley. I like it. Okay, that's who I was going to pick, but
likely or Jonnu.
I was going to say likely Jonnu. Jalen McMillan is on the top of my list. Do you have a preference?
I like Jalen McMillan a little bit less in this.
Okay, let's do Jonnu. I like Jonnu a lot. Oh fuck. Same.
We get timed out.
No, Kelsey and Jonnu have the week 6.
That's fine. That's fine. We're gonna take.
I'm glad.
We're gonna take Greg Dulcich.
Let's. Did you hear the latest Dulcich? He's playing with the ones, of course, as you would expect.
He's behind as a blocker.
The run blocking is leaving a little. Every time I hear that, it makes my stomach turn on these tight ends because like. The easiest way to get pulled off the field is be a sissy in the run game.
I don't know if they have the luxury, man. I really don't know if they have the. What do you get? Their wide receivers are so bad. No, it's who's the Tomlinson and
Tomlinson.
Adam Troutman.
Troutman. Duh.
Yeah,
it was one of those guys. I knew. Yeah.
They're just, it's like they're like the most talent bereft pass catching room in the NFL, basically.
What does this mean? Wandale was like the best player on Nebraska when he first got there, and he went to Kentucky to play at a higher level to play in the SEC, and also did Nebraska. I think Nebraska changed coaches. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. Well, if his 8 to 9 points are being overvalued. Show me who's scoring more than 8 to 9 points a game back here. Like this is always my thing when like people. It was like we were doing the earlier on your show. We were talking about Aiden O'Connell, and they wanted us to draft Aiden O'Connell. And
imagine being thirsty for Aiden O'Connell.
Seriously, which is kind of hilarious that we're now caping for Wandale, but it's like these conversations are pushbacks about the player is straight in a vacuum. You can't discuss these players in a vacuum. So, okay, DJ Chark just went off the board. Is DJ Chark going to score more than 8 or 9 fantasy points per game with Easton Stick as his quarterback and maybe not the starter on the Chargers? Or like, I like Jalen McMillan. I like Luke McCaffrey. Troy Franklin is like the wide receiver 6 on the Bo Nix Denver Broncos, right? Like Tez Walker is not a starter right now on the Baltimore Ravens.
And just got hurt.
Yeah, and got like, so show me who at the same cost as these other guys is guaranteed to be so much better, because I will absolutely draft them. Like I don't care. I'm trying to win money, baby. Like I don't give a shit which chess pieces I put onto the board as long as they make me money. And so the point about Wandale is like, I know he's good. I understand that the archetype is not awesome, but if you're good at football, sometimes you score more fantasy points. Really bad Chig news today, by the way.
Probably another. Oh, I didn't see that. Probably another running back here.
Shipley, Lauby. Should I give you? I've been taking.
Of course.
I've been taking some of them. So with you on the show, it's a good reminder. Oof.
William one knows ball. He won't stop clicking Dortch. He knows ball.
Dortch just went off the board right in front of us. We weren't going to take him, but
we already have one short king here. We don't need
Wandale's
you need to limit your short kings. You can't build the whole plane out of short kings.
So running back is a tough scene, and we have 6 with Demont as our
This is so brutal.
This is
probably another tight end.
Let's take one of these tight ends. Do you want Dulcich?
No, let's take. Oh yes, yeah. I was gonna
Okay.
say let's take Jelani, but no, let's take Dulcich.
I'm fine with Dulcich. On Blauby, are you like? I know some of these are bits, and some of them are serious, and some of them are like somewhere in the middle between the two of them. Where would you put the Lauby thing? Because honestly, he is getting a little more exciting.
I was like not really taking him that often before, but I'm like legit no bit taking him round 18 now. Like, if we think the team is bad, we think they're going to be a 6-win team, and we think that they're going to play a lot of like kind of like low scoring games, and we think Madison is dust, and we think Zamir White is not a special NFL player.
Mm-hmm.
Then like Lauby, I get the issue. The reason why I'm not like hammering him is he really was not a very efficient rusher at the University of frickin' New Hampshire. So I think his ceiling is sort of like a Samaj Pirine plus role where he's getting more targets than rushes, and like probably remember Rex Burkhead's first season with the Patriots where he scored like 8 touchdowns. That's kind of what a really good season for him would look like.
I think that's a pretty good comp, actually. Like Burkhead was a pass catcher, got a little bit of extra stuff just because the guys around him were really not very good, and that's just how the season.
Or maybe like a really good Shane Vereen season.
Yeah, good. Yeah, because you can't. I don't want to use the James White thing because that's James White is like there is only one James White, and there will probably only ever be one James White. So I hate that comp. Shane Vereen's probably that's a pretty good. There's a Zamir Stephen Ridley. And Lauby is Shane Vereen, and the difference is that the Patriots were winning all the time, so Shane Vereen was not necessarily going to be popping up for 8 catch games all the time, whereas we're not expecting that from the Raiders, so he's not going to be as efficient. But if I get a bunch of games where they're trailing and he's playing more and catching a bunch of passes, and drafters full PPR, it sounds pretty good. And if again, we always think about this time of the year and kind of forget that the whole point of the like NFL season is chaos. And it's like guys are going to get hurt, man. Like guys are going to get hurt. Teams are going to rest guys. Like shit is going to just go totally haywire in 2 months. And we're going to forget all the stuff we've been talking about with the training camp news and everything.
This is Hyatt or Slayton, if they're still there. I don't know if they are.
Fuck.
Is he gone?
Oh, no. They're both gone. Okay.
Well. Oh, God. This Malik Washington, take him.
Okay. Whew. Just found the first name that didn't make me throw up.
That was really bad. That was really bad.
All right. We got to make it one more, but this is actually running back. I think I would take a 7th running back here. I mean,
yes.
We're pretty thin with DeMont and Mostert as the top 2. Now, the
more likely to find a running back in round 20 who's like going to make the roster and going to be active than a wide receiver too.
Yeah. The problem, of course, is Rasheen Ali's still around. I'm down for that. We could buy the Amari DiMercato training camp hype if you want. Other than that,
I'm not buying Amari DiMercato.
No. So Pirine, Gainwell, no. Jordan Mason hype, Trey Sermon, Eric Gray, Evan Hull, or Rasheen Ali. Those, as you can see, I've drafted them the most. Those would be my 2 votes.
Sion Vaki. We can take Rasheen.
Let's take Ali. We probably need on this team that kind of swing.
The people want to know what the bad Chig news was.
Oh, yeah. I'll just find it real quick.
Can't be. I heard there was something bad like 2 weeks ago, where Callahan was saying like, "Oh, we view it as like a committee, and not one of our guys is any better than the other. Like it's not great." The
Titans. God damn it. There's so many tweets on 32 beat writers. So I apologize. I didn't bookmark it either. So it's on here somewhere. I promise. go back and find, there's a Titans beat writer that's he tweeted multiple tweets like straight up about Chig, basically saying he still likes him and he thinks he's good at football. Now this is a beat writer, like some speculation, and I'm not like taking it all as a grain of salt, but or taking it all as fact. But he said, he's like, I would call Chig like kind of a rotational tight end, basically, with I forget who the starter is because he's a better blocker than
Josh
Chig
Wiley.
is. Yeah, Wiley. So he's expecting Wiley to play more snaps than Chig is, and then the offense is obviously going to flow through Nuke and Ridley. He said Boyd too. That's when I roll my eyes. But the running backs are gonna, the running backs and the two outside wide receivers are kind of the focus of the offense. And then let's see if I can. I don't remember. The problem is I don't know if he typed out his full name or if he did.
Yeah, I got some breaking news. Jermaine Burton getting his left foot looked at by trainer Matt Summers.
Well,
it's good. That's good. That's good for you. It's not good for me. That's incredibly.
He's walking.
Yeah, he's probably fine, but
yeah. You just never know. Like some guys get carted off and they're just like going to the bathroom, and then some guys walk off and he has a broken foot or something. Like it's total chaos. But he seems all right. But yeah, just search for Chig, and there's a Titans beat writer. It was like a 3 or 4 tweet thread about his kind of role in the offense. And I'm drafting some, not like a ton, but he's in my late tight end mix.
I went through like an 8-day phase where I was like a huge Chig, Levis Titans bull, and then I was like, let's settle down. It's the Titans. Like
you read something about their pass rate, right? I would guarantee it is. Yeah, you're like, they're gonna throw it every down, and Levis is free and he runs and blah blah blah, and you're like, I got to take these guys, and then like 4 days pass, and you're like, Will Levis?
I was like, Will Levis, really?
Like Will Levis that couldn't do shit in college at 2 different schools, and like this is the way you want to tie all your money to. All right, last question before we start to get out of here. Chicken cheesesteak lover, interesting name. Will Chase Brown still be good when they play tackle and not
as good? Football? I'm gonna be real with you. He's not gonna be as good. I'll keep it 100 with you. It's not every clip you see of him is not gonna be a 50-yard touchdown. I think he's literally too agile for these drills. I mean, it'd be like, like what if we got to see Devin A-Chain highlights in training camp? He'd look the same way. He'd look insane. Like there definitely are going to be some growing pains with Chase Brown. Chase Brown is going to get, he's going to get blown up in pass pro a couple times, and Moss will come in, or Travion Williams will be playing more snaps than you think. Like his price right now is appropriate. I would not be drafting him over like Kenneth Walker, which is like, that's what the fantasy community would have done in the past with a guy like him, is they would have just gone completely insane, totally irrational. They would be like, Zach Moss doesn't matter, but we've grown as a community.
It's a really good point, actually. A good one to leave it on too, where 100% 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we just would have said, nope, this is the young, fun player. Zach Moss, are you serious? Like you think Zach Moss matters, and then we'll run down Zach Moss's career and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, there is a point where like Zach Moss's presence, not Zach Moss's skill, just Zach Moss's presence absolutely matters. And we've gotten smarter about that. And like I was saying before, like we also have to remember that it's like the season is chaotic, and we often do pretend, I think we still do this a little bit too much, myself included, pretend like the young players can't get hurt. And it's we always say the young players are the ones that are going to get better over the season. The young players are the week 17 bets. And then James fucking Conner shows up week 17 every year and scores 30 fantasy points. And we're like, what could have, how did this happen? And it's like, because the NFL season is chaos, and it's not only old players that get hurt. It's everybody, because football is a goddamn car, a car wreck on every single play during this season. Guys get injured, even young players. And so like the guys like Zach Moss, we would have dumped Zach Moss in the 15th round and put Chase Brown in the 6th round or whatever a couple of years ago. And we've definitely gotten smarter. And so I'm still going to keep buying at this price. There might come a point where, if he's going next to Warren or something like that, I'm going to get pretty.
Yeah, if he gets to Warren, I'm not. I just can't take him.
Risk. You don't have the same risk with Jalen. Like, we know kind of what we're getting, generally speaking, with Jalen Warren, and then I can buy back some Zach Moss, because then that'll like, they'll like switch prices, right? And that'll work out well. But we got to get out of here. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll have a bunch more draft streams. Of course, Davis has a ton of draft streams on his channel, but he can let you guys know what he's got cooking just quickly before we head out.
Yeah, gonna do my first high stakes stream of the year tonight, 7 p.m. The Gilcast boys, me, Nate, and Sammy are gonna draft a team in the RotoWire Online Championship, and my rankings and articles and all that stuff are over on my Patreon, patreon.com/Davis Mattek. I appreciate Erik for inviting me on. Appreciate Erik drafting with me this morning. Drafted some pretty good teams in an old Best Ball Mania. So pretty pumped about that. And thanks for inviting me, man. Thanks for hanging out.
Absolutely. Make sure and go check out. Yeah, drafted with Davis this morning, as did some other folks. Check those out. I think we made some money today, Davis. Or at least I'm going to tell myself that. Everybody enjoy.
At least theoretically, we've made
the EV. Yeah, I'll try to deposit the Sklansky's into the bank later. Everybody enjoy the Hall of Fame game. Probably be back pretty soon with some more draft streams and some more content. Legendary Sickos coming back. Everything else. Have a good night. See you guys. Peace.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.